First at 5, a deadly hit and run caught on camera. Detectives have said very little about the crash, but security footage is now giving us a better idea of what happened. Hello, I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Molko. We want to warn you, some of the video you're about to see is disturbing, though we are showing you some of the troubling moments from last week in Northeast Portland in order to understand just how brazen and random this was. Mike Benner has the story.
Cameras mounted all around the Eastport Food Center on Southeast 82nd happened to capture a deadly hit-and-run crash. Watch closely as a pickup truck pulls into the Eastport Plaza parking lot. The driver turns around and stops. Moments later, a cyclist comes by, followed by a pedestrian, and the driver of the truck floors it, hitting and killing the person walking. The driver of the truck then turns around and comes back for the cyclist, who thankfully escapes unharmed. The manager of the Eastport Food Center witnessed the whole thing.
Scary. I've seen a lot of accidents happen out here. I've seen people getting hit by the crosswalk here, but nothing like that.
Michael Weeks jumped into his own vehicle and chased down the suspect, who he caught up with at Lentz Park. A short time later, officers arrested the driver, later identified as Frederick Moore. This is Moore in court just days after the crash. Court documents obtained by KGW say Moore told officers he intentionally hit the pedestrian. Weeks is hoping Moore is eventually convicted and put away for a long time.
Certainly a horrific event that Michael Weeks witnessed, and I want to make one thing very clear. Michael did not speak to us for his own gain. He spoke to us in hopes of giving the community a better idea of what transpired out here. Reporting in Southeast Portland, I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
A large portion of Bowie Beer Company's Astoria Brewery and restaurant collapsed Tuesday evening. The large warehouse-style building's roof caved in. Officials are still trying to figure out what caused it. The good news is nobody was hurt during this. The brewery's popular waterfront tap room and restaurant are closed for now. The building sits on the mouth of the Columbia River and is a huge attraction. Firefighters say there was a gas and water leak when the building collapsed, but the gas was turned off quickly. People who live in Astoria say Bowie Beer was a town favorite.
Also one of my favorite places to eat. It's kind of sad to see it like this, though. One of my friends actually works there. Well, worked there. I don't know if they're still having anybody work there right now.
Town favorite and out of town favorite. I love that place. And people in town are hopeful Bowie Beer can make a comeback. A structural engineer is conducting an assessment to hopefully figure out the cause. It's unknown when they'll reopen.
Well, new funding announced today will go toward helping some of the Oregon counties hit hardest by wildfires. $73 million approved by Oregon Housing and Community Services will build more than 600 homes. Most of them are going to be rentals, so Clackamas, Marion, Jackson, Lincoln counties are all set to receive a portion of those funds.
Confirmed tonight, Portland Public Schools will ban concealed weapons on school campuses. The district's board approved the change during a meeting last night. The reason this policy is legal, a state law that went into effect last September allows school districts to ban guns, even for someone with a concealed carry license. According to OPB, about 13% of public school districts in Oregon have passed a ban.
And this evening, we want to take a closer look at an epidemic that is plaguing our friends, families, and neighbors as wave after wave of fentanyl, a powerful and deadly man-made drug, floods our communities. It is claiming life after life, some as young as 16 years old. I mean, you likely have heard the warning, one pill can kill. And tonight, one Portland mother wants you to hear something more, her son's name, in the hope that what came too late for her family might save yours. Here is Griffin's story.
He was extremely witty and funny. I mean, mature humor from the time he was like 5 or 6.
And by his sophomore year of high school, his mother says Griffin Hoffman had grown into a teenage tennis star, a young adult with a big heart who was still a kid at heart.
I miss every last thing about him. It's really difficult to talk about when you're talking about your son.
But Carrie Cohen wants the world to know about the anxiety Griffin suffered like so many teens during the pandemic, experimenting with cannabis, then prescription pills.
I also had many conversations with him, and so did his dad, about the dangers. You know, he knew there are a few things you never ever do.
But it sounds like you wanted him to talk to you about all of this.
Definitely, and we made it very clear, like, you're not going to get in trouble. This is what it matters, is discussion.
Then, on a Monday morning in March, a school day, Griffin's father went to wake him up.
His dad threw open my bedroom door and said, "Carrie, get up. Something's wrong with Griffin." The first thing I saw was his hand, because his dad was holding it, trying to find a pulse, and there was no pulse. And it was just blue.
Did you already have a sense about what might have happened?
I figured in the beginning that he took something. He must have taken something and not known. And right away they found those blue pills.
Pills like these that Carrie would later find out looked like oxycodone, but were counterfeit, made with something 100 times stronger than morphine. Fentanyl.
My kid wasn't an addict, you know? He was just doing normal experimentation like any other kid. He was just like a regular teenager. The fact that it happened to my kid is evidence that it could happen to anybody's kid in a lot of ways.
Investigators say they were able to trace back who those very pills came from a street dealer that handed them to Griffin, then up 2 levels, to a 24-year-old alleged drug trafficker they call a merchant of death.
A federal indictment naming him as Manuel Antonio Souza Espinoza of Vancouver, caught in late March with this bag of fentanyl pills and a firearm, investigators say, during an operation with a lower-level dealer who cooperated. Espinoza facing 20 years to life, if convicted, court filings read, for selling fentanyl that resulted in the death of a child. The defendant's lawyer did not respond to a request for comment.
We asked the district attorney, who was the last person who knew what these things were and that they could that probably might kill. And they told us every last one.
Really?
Yeah.
Last year alone, we had 11 deaths in the state of Oregon from young people under the age of 18.
And while U.S. Attorney Scott Ospog declined to discuss the specifics of Griffin's case, the explosion in Oregon of the synthetic drug that's easier to transport and cheaper to make means his office is battling an epidemic.
We can't prosecute our way out of these cases. What's important is that kids understand, that young people understand, that what they're taking has the high potential to kill them.
Please make sure that you are not taking these pills. They are designed to look like oxy.
Which is why the principal at Griffin's school, McDaniel High in Northeast Portland, posted a plea a day after the 16-year-old died.
We're going to take the pills from you. We will not be asking any questions.
The grief is going to stay with us for a very long time.
What have you personally learned over the last few months?
It wasn't clear, the level of the danger and how prevalent they are and what our students potentially and what the community is potentially buying. If you're buying anything on the street, it's fentanyl.
And now it's much more clear.
Much more clear.
And that's in part due to a flurry of public health warnings issued to show, color aside, that prescription pills on the left here and counterfeit fentanyl on the right can look nearly identical, with experts pointing out it takes just a few grains, less than the tip of a pencil, to prove fatal.
When we're seeing people OD on half a pill, sometimes potentially even quarter of a pill.
And Lieutenant Chris Lindsay with Portland Police Narcotics and Organized Crime shows us
I mean, this is pretty typical for how it's all shipped up in bulk like this.
The surge has grown so great.
This section of this vault is dedicated exclusively to fentanyl storage.
In their secure drug vault, fentanyl has its own section.
These are counterfeit oxycodone pills.
And they're all marked evidence. They all say suspected fentanyl or fentanyl. There's a lot here. How many pills in here?
Probably hundreds of thousands.
Probably hundreds of thousands.
In 2021, Portland police say they secured over 300,000 confirmed or suspected fentanyl pills. In the first 5 months of this year, they've already brought in 90% of last year's totals, with teens an easy target.
Apps like Facebook, Snapchat, and Telegram are huge. We're seeing it on the dark web as well. This is very preliminary. We're starting to see them come in the form of counterfeit Xanax now. The little white Xanax bars. This stuff is dangerous. This is what it looks like, and it can kill you.
There's no redemption. I mean, the worst thing in the world happened to me. The worst thing in the world. That every parent's biggest fear is what happened.
The reality of her son's death still so raw, Carrie can't bear to look at pictures.
Yeah, I can't.
Instead, this mother finding her memories and comfort in an enduring symbol of his life.
I got a tattoo of a griffin to commemorate him. Yeah, my life pulse, you know. Had the biggest heart. I mean, he cared so much about people. That's what I want. I want people to remember his humor and his heart.
His humor and his heart, she says. Griffin, by the way, is not the only one. Another student at his high school also died from a counterfeit prescription pill, a fatal dose of fentanyl, less than 24 hours before he did.
There are just no words. I just want to stop after watching that story.
Painful.
And then for the U.S. Attorney in your story to say 11 other kids this year alone have also lost their lives. It's just so heartbreaking and staggering.
Yeah, it's frightening. And we're actually going to give you a breakdown here. A really big jump since 2019. So kids 17 and under, no one died from fentanyl in 2019, climbed to 5 deaths a year later and 11 last year. That's only through September. We actually expect that number to tick up here. Young adults 18 to 24, you see it there, 11 dead in 2019, 44 in 2020, and partial data again, at least 53 dead in 2021. So you can see why officials call it an explosion, an epidemic, and that trend extends, by the way, into all adults as well. Now, by the way, the alleged trafficker charged in connection with Griffin's death is also under investigation, court records say, for another fatal fentanyl overdose. An adult. Espinoza is due back in court next month, according to the U.S. Attorney. No one else has been charged or arrested. And not only does Carrie Cohen want all of those responsible to be held accountable, she says, what she wants most is what she calls hopeful thinking. Beyond showing remorse, she wants them to care.
Oh, well, we all care so much, and I feel like Griffin and those 11 other young people are all of our children. I hope every parent gets to see your story, every grandparent, and hear Carrie's story, her grief, and know about Griffin.
Me too.
Thank you, David.
You bet.